welcome to another episode of A Breath of Fresh Jacob, where you guys submit questions, and I forget that I'm supposed to record it and go take a shower. Now my hair's wet, and whatever, you're gonna deal with it. Because guess what, chat? Today we have an interesting topic. Ooh. Today's topic is submitted by Tractor Lover, so you know it's gonna be interesting. And it says, as a Brit, what I see of American tipping culture both confuses and somewhat scares me. What do you think of the current state of things? Should there be a change? And if so, how would you change things? I'm going to assume that you mean tipping culture as in gratuity, and not that our culture is on the tipping point, because that's a concept for a completely different episode. So let's talk about tipping, or gratuity. And I have a lot to say about this, so buckle the fuck up. When people think of tips, they think of what you leave at a restaurant when you're done. And that is what it is, but it can also be in other places. When you get your hair done, you get taxi or ride sharing like Uber or Lyft, whatever. You get your pizza delivered, valet. But tipping at a restaurant is the most common kind, and that's what I'm going to mostly stick to for this conversation. A lot of places will give you the option to do a percentage. That percentage varies from country to country. Of course, the United States has the highest percent of the world, as far as I'm aware, 15 to 20% being expected. We'll get back to that. First, I want to tell you something interesting you may or may not know. It is illegal to tip a government worker. Fun fact. It's also illegal to tip police officers because bribery. Not really sure what you would tip a police officer for. I mean, I could see tipping a mailman, but that's a government official. Like, you know, it's hot outside, and they're, you know, oh man, you're working hard today. Here, have an extra $1. It's illegal as shit. You can't do it. So before we dive too deep into this, I do want to talk about a couple of the pros of the concept of tipping. It doesn't always work out this way because concepts don't always translate to action, but some of the positive things about it is, I mean, the obvious one is rewarding good service, right? Someone does an exceptional job of serving your food, or a taxi gets you there very quickly, or something like that. They do something above and beyond what you would expect from them. You give them a tip. And theoretically, this is a big gray area, but theoretically it also incentivizes the people that would be getting the tips to do a better job. Now, this is a dual-edged sword. I'll get back to that when we get to the negatives. But before we go there, Tractor asked specifically about tipping culture. Rather than just sticking to American, I do want to touch on some of the other ones real quick. A lot of people, most of you probably already know this, and if you didn't, I'm happy to share it with you. In some countries, it is considered rude to tip. One of the most common examples of that is Japan. They are expected that their people are supposed to already be giving 110%. And so you tipping, it's just seen as rude. A lot of East Asia, actually. A lot of people assume it's just Japan, but a lot of East Asia is like that, where it's considered rude to tip. It's especially rude in Japan. Or so I've heard. You should fact check this. Different countries have different expectations. For example, I believe it's Russia that expects 10% gratuity, as opposed to ours here in America, which is like 20%. Also, fun fact while I'm thinking about it, you know, if you have like a big party of people and they like force charge you like 20% gratuity if you have like 8 or more people, yeah, guess what? Most of the time, your servers don't get that. The restaurant keeps it because restaurants are assholes. Which brings us to my next point that I want to really talk about is how bullshit tipping is based in American culture. It should be illegal. It should absolutely be illegal the way that it is done. I'm not talking about giving a server extra money because they did a good job. If you want to do that, do it. Okay? That is your prerogative to do so. I tend to do it myself. What pisses me off is this. Most restaurants in the United States underpay the shit out of their servers. They pay them below minimum wage. And they're allowed to. Because it is expected that their tips will make up the difference. So all those restaurants you go to, legally underpay the shit out of their servers and expect you to pay the rest of their wages. And that's some bullshit. If I have to cover half the employees' wages, I want half of the store's profits. That's only fair, right? This is so bad on so many levels. Because now, tipping isn't a reward for doing a good job. It's a punishment for not doing an above average job. You go into a restaurant, and if your server doesn't really do a very good job, maybe they're busy and they can't attend to you as frequently as you would like, and you don't leave them a tip, they're not gonna eat tonight. If that restaurant has a slow day and they're making less than $4 an hour and they have a, 5-hour shift, $20 after taxes and bullshit like that, they're down to like $13 in a day, whereas anyone else at minimum wage would be having almost double that because they expect you to cover the other end of that. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. It should be illegal, and it's not. There's so much more wrong with this, too. It causes fighting among staff, waiters, waitresses that are fighting over who gets what tables. Because, there's a big table, they're more likely to tip more, I want that one. And the other person's like, no, I want that one. And then people start fighting over it because they need the money to survive. They're not paid a living wage. They are paid bullshit wages. It's stupid. Here's another thing, fun fact for you if you didn't know. You know how whenever you order a pizza from like Domino's or some shit and they charge you an extra $2.25? Some pizza places will give the delivery driver that fee. Some places will give them half of it. Some places don't give them any of it. But here's the kicker. Delivery drivers are not servers, so that pay them under whatever amount typically doesn't apply. So delivery drivers make at least minimum wage and they get to keep their tips. Why isn't it that way for the servers? The servers are doing the harder job, in my opinion. Delivery drivers just taking the food to a place and coming back, which, you know, in certain places, that can be a pain in the ass. Looking at all the deer that get hit in this fucking state. But the servers are doing just as hard of a job, making sure that people are getting their food correctly, make sure they're getting their food on time, making sure they're moving requests from the kitchen to the customer back and forth. I mean, these people are doing a lot. Why are the delivery drivers getting paid minimum wage or above and the servers aren't? It's not fair. It's bullshit. Which, then again, if you look at it that way, people that work for salary money, like most managers at restaurants and stuff, they work 60, 70 hours a week and they still get paid a flat fucking number. Usually works out to less than like, I don't know, $12 an hour, which at a management position, you would expect more than that, especially since most places are hiring at like $10 an hour now. Of course, that's concept for another day because places being like, oh, we're going to hire you at $15 an hour. And then you get there and they're like, oh, actually, we're going to try to underpay you. It's bullshit. Companies are taking advantage of a pandemic and people that need jobs so hard right now. And if you're a CEO of one of these companies and you're watching this video, which I know you're not, but if you are, fuck you. Fuck you. I feel better now. Another issue with the way that tipping culture here in America has kind of evolved, I guess, is I mentioned earlier that staff would fight with each other over getting tables. Another thing that I've seen myself, because I've done that kind of work before, some of the staff will see a particular person that frequents that restaurant that frequently gives large tips and will try to make sure they get that person. Not because they want to give them good service, but because they know that that's the only way they're going to get a large tip. That's turning people into numbers. And as a content creator, that's not something you want to do. Take it from me. It's bad. I see a lot of people do it. It's not good. Another thing, and I've seen this happen more than once. You guys have probably seen it, if not in person, probably on video somewhere. Let's say a waitress is, bringing you your bowl of spaghetti or whatever, and she trips, and she drops the plate. Has a mental fucking breakdown. Not because she dropped it, because now she's afraid that because she dropped it, you're not going to leave her as good of a tip. So she's not going to be able to afford to feed her children tonight. That should never happen. That should never be a thing where because you made one tiny little mistake, you're worried that you're not going to be able to afford to eat because you're getting paid less than $5 an hour. That's insane. Whoever came up with this is an idiot. And another thing, which, again, this is a bit of a gray area, but, you get a waitress that's got giant titties hanging out, probably going to get more tips than a standard waiter walking around with his, apron thing that he keeps his, checkbook things in. I don't know what they're called. Receipt tickets? I don't know, whatever they're called. Okay? So you can use your physical attributes to get ahead. And inherently, there's nothing wrong with that. You're making do with what you have. But that gives a serious disadvantage to people that don't have that. You could make the argument that, well, if you're not attractive, don't be a waiter or a waitress. But you know what? Just because it's not a high-end bazillion-dollar an hour job doesn't mean some people don't want to do it. There are people that really enjoy waiting for a living. That's what they want to do. They want to interact with people and serve them food. That's what they want to do. Just like some people want to be doctors, some people want to be veterinarians, some people want to be teachers, some people want to be waiters, some people want to be caterers. It's a thing. There are schools for this kind of stuff to be better at it. I don't really know where I was going with this, but this whole episode is making me very upset with American culture and tipping. It pisses me off because I think that anybody that does a job should be paid for it, and finding an excuse to underpay people is scum. Full stop. So for the back half of your question, Tractor, you said, and I quote, should there be a change? And if so, how would I change things? Should there be a change? Yes. How would I change things? Raise the minimum wage for waiters and waitresses to the actual minimum wage. Stop underpaying your employees and expecting your customers to make up for the fact that you don't want to pay people a living wage. And if people don't want to do that, they don't need to be running these companies. They don't need to be running these restaurants. Get out of there. Get actual humans in there instead of greedy f***offs, okay? There you go. Oh yeah, fun fact. Since I just got out of the shower and my skin's starting to dry out because I'm a loser and I didn't moisturize properly, it looks like I've got 2 red spots here. Give me horns, Charles! Thanks. Well, after that very aggressive episode of A Breath of Fresh Jacob, I think I could go for a nap now, so I'm going to go do that. As for the rest of you, thank you for watching. I've been told by many people that I should say, you should like and comment and subscribe, whatever. I said it, okay? There. Now I'm a real YouTube asshole. Don't forget that idea submissions are open on Mondays. You come by to the stream, type an !fresh after the stream is started. It'll get you a link and you can submit your ideas, and maybe we'll get to yours. Remember, if you've already submitted one, make sure you submit it again because we do wipe it every week because it keeps it fair for everybody. And that's all I got for you. And just remember that Billie Jean was not my lover. We'll see you next time. Alright, I'm gonna fuck off now.